start. Namaste. This is Neva, and I'm just going to do a short practice. It's mostly focused on being on the floor. And I use this practice myself because it's grounding. You can get so much done without ever standing up in terms of strengthening certain muscles that are important for stability and balance, your core, and you can also really get some nice release and stretching going. So it's sort of in the area of yoga therapy. I use it for people who are new to yoga or have injuries, but it's a perfectly valid and wonderful practice just to do any time. So we're just going to start on our backs. We'll start in your typical bridge pose position with the feet parallel and the knees lined up over the hips, lined up over the feet rather. And make sure you're balanced on your feet and you're balanced across your back, and you're just settling in and down and deepening your awareness just to how you are right now. And if you notice as you scan your body and pay attention, you might notice parts of your back that are tight, that aren't easily settled into the back, into the floor. And as you notice those areas, you can sort of snuggle in and widen and squirm around till you find a place of ease. And then the next thing is to really deepen the breath. And this is something that will carry on throughout the practice. Whether I'm reminding you or not, I'm telling you right now, your most important effort is awareness and breath. So we practice the Ujjayi breathing. Let's place one hand on the low belly and one hand on the chest, just at the sternum level of the heart center. Let your shoulders drop. Draw your chin in slightly. So if your chin is up like this, you'll want to put a little something under your head, just a rolled up towel, just something small, folded towel, depending on the angle of your curve. But just so that the back of the neck is long, chest is open, and you want to inhale through the nose and send the breath down into the belly so you feel your belly swell. Notice there's a natural increase in the lumbar curve as you really fill your lungs, and the breath expands all the way up to your chest. And then as you exhale, the shoulders drop, the chest drops, and eventually the belly drops down. So we like to do about a 5-count inhale and a 5-count exhale. Let's just do that a couple of times. Breathing through the nose and the back of the throat. And I'm not trying to move my spine. There's a natural spinal movement that happens that is a result of breathing fully into the lungs and emptying the lungs fully. In yoga, we use these natural movement patterns and exaggerate them so that most of the time when we're inhaling, we're opening the front of the body like in a back bend. And most of the time when we're exhaling, we're closing the front of the body and stretching the back body more, as in a forward bend. So now I'm lengthening my spine. I'm beginning to exaggerate the toning action in the low belly as part of the exhale process to empty the breath out. What this actually is doing is lifting the diaphragm up into the ribs to help the lungs to empty. And then when you're inhaling, the diaphragm is being pushed down as your lungs fill. So you can feel like your belly is swelling, but it's not because there's breath going into your belly. It's because the abdominal organs are being displaced. Maybe that's too much information. As you exhale again, now we're going to start toning even more actively. So starting at the pelvic floor, which is where we have the Mula Bandha, the root lock, this action of tightening the muscles at the pelvic floor and then pulling inward and upward. And this is the Uddiyana Bandha. And then as you continue lengthening the spine, your chin will draw down even more. And this is the Jalandhara Bandha. And when these 3 locks or bandhas are engaged together, we call it Mahamudra or Tribandha. And then we release them just before you inhale because it's difficult to get a full breath. It's possible, but it's difficult to get a full breath with all 3 bandhas engaged. We certainly can get a full breath with Mula Bandha engaged and even Uddiyana Bandha, but not the 3 together. Well, yes, but it's it's a little subtle. So one more time, just exhaling all the breath out through the nose, through the back of the throat. And of course, if you're very congested and you have to breathe through your mouth, you have to breathe through your mouth, although generally speaking, it's too drying to continually breathe through the mouth. So now I'm pausing. I've got these deep bandhas engaged, and I'm pausing, just concentrating that energy in the spine. And then one more time we'll inhale. And this time as you exhale, go ahead and add a movement, which is the pelvis, so you can let your arms relax by your sides. I'm exhaling as I lift. Pressing down through the shoulders, the face is parallel, the weight is even on the feet, even favoring the inner edge of the feet a little bit, but nice wide feet. Take an inhale while you're up. And then with the exhale, you're engaging those locks and rolling down through the vertebrae one at a time, so the waist touches the floor before the pelvis, and then you relax the bandhas. On the next round, we'll add the arms. I don't have a lot of room here, but if I bend my arms over my head, it's only because I don't have room. You can extend them straight. So inhale, I'll just scoot down a tad. Inhale deeply. As you exhale, you'll synchronize the arms floating up as the hips lift, and you're emptying the breath out. And then you'll take an inhale while you're up. And synchronize. So Vinyasa Yoga is synchronizing breath and movement, so we're just practicing that in a very simple sequence. And this is actually the first sequence I ever learned in Vinyasa Yoga. And I feel that it's very profound on many levels, but it's simple structurally. Inhale. The more advanced you are with your breathing, the longer your breaths are. And it's really very calming to slow the breath down while you're paying attention to the breath, because then you're slowing your mind down too. Inhaling in the lifted position, just feeling how the breath pours through you like water, and as you exhale, emptying and lowering, synchronizing. I'm just going to let my knees sort of windshield wiper over to one side and do a little bobbing. I like to do bobbing. It's like a cork bobbing on water, and notice that as my hip is bobbing, which I'm initiating by pushing into the heel of the top leg, the bobbing is sort of spiraling up through the ribs and the shoulders and through the whole spine, jaw, throat. And it helps me to be aware of where I'm holding tension, because if I'm just bobbing and the upper body isn't moving, then that's a good sign that I'm holding tension in my upper body. Particularly notice the jaw. We hold a lot of tension in the jaw, which then radiates into the neck. And I always encourage people to let go of tension by exhaling through the mouth. Then increase that stretch through the hip with a little, bringing that knee up and just a gentle stretch here. And you can open that opposite arm out a little bit more. Exhaling, engage your bandha, so hollowing out your lower belly, and then maybe a little more pressure on the leg to increase the stretch in the hip and low back. Your head can turn anywhere it's comfortable. And then we'll roll to the back and keep that knee into the chest. Hug the knee with the shin with both hands and extend your other leg up to the ceiling. Inhale, and as you exhale, engage the locks as though you're engaging that zipper through that central core in those deep muscles along the spine. And we'll just lower and lift the leg, holding the belly stable, holding the spine stable in its natural curves, and keeping the breath fluid and the movement then also fluid. We'll do 4 straight up and down, and then we'll do 4 little half circles. And here the challenge is to keep the pelvis stable while you move the leg in a nice big circle. And you can do more of these if you want. I'm just doing a little bit of an instructional video, so keeping the leg just off the floor, cradle your head. And we'll do a twist, and as you come to center, use the muscles of the root lock just to do a tiny lift of the pelvis. And make sure you don't swing yourself up, but really contract deeply to lift the tailbone just an inch or so. It's quality, not quantity. Just Let's do 8 more of these. Keeping an ease to your effort and a little bit of humor, a little bit of detachment. Just enjoy moving, waking your body up. I think that makes 8. And we'll hug both knees in. And I like to rock side to side whenever I do this. Planting the feet back on the floor, opening the arms out. I like to call this shape cactus. Drop the knees the other way. And that little bobbing action again, just releasing, tuning in to where you might be holding patterns of tension that you can let go of. I love the imagery of water because it moves around obstacles, it doesn't get stuck. It has the ability to wear away boulders and turn into sand, and yet it's very powerful. And then a little extra stretch, breathing slowly and emptying the belly to increase the stretch. Did I mention to thank my teachers? I did not. I'm sorry. I usually try to do that. I thank all of my teachers because I didn't come into the world knowing any of this. I thank myself for being interested, and I thank myself for applying it, but I thank my teachers more. And I have a lot of great ones. A lot of great ones. Maraji, all of my great dance teachers, the Yurlos from the Bolshoi, Miss Wallace from Stuttgart, people from the Royal Ballet, and into the half circle. Yoga teachers, wonderful yoga teachers, Jane Fryer, John Schumacher. When I moved out to California, Lauren Peterson, Micheline Barry, Mark Stevens, Shiva Ray, and then teachers that influenced me that I didn't spend a lot of time with, but I took some classes, Max Strom, Eric Schiffman. And then some of the teachers who were more dance therapy oriented, like Charmaine Lee, very innovative in dance movement that related to Ayurveda, working with the elements and the chakras through dance, and I actually encountered that before I encountered the vinyasa programs, the vinyasa style that Shiva Ray teaches, for instance, that focuses on the elements and the chakras so much in her pranic flow. So all of it came together for me when I moved to California, and I'm grateful for that. And I continue to develop things. Robert Bustani, very influential in my more therapeutic approach to yoga. And actually, some of the movements that I'll do in this little practice, I learned from him when we were teaching together in Holland. Now we'll place the feet together and open the knees like a butterfly. Open the arms, take a deep breath, fill the whole torso with breath, let the whole body open, open, open. As you exhale, contract that deep inner zipper from the root lock to the throat and wrap and open. This is a nice stretch for the shoulders. It also reconnects with that core awareness and how the inner thigh muscles are connected through that core awareness. Now I'm just going to open the arms and let myself roll all the way over to the side, stacking the hips, and now I'm just going to open the upper body. So again, I'm twisting, but I'm flowing into the twist. The exhale brings me back. The inhale opens me up. The exhale brings me back. The inhale opens me up. The exhale brings me back. And I'm going to stay for a couple breaths in the open position again. Softening into the twist. Following the path of the breath as it flows from the tailbone through the path of least resistance in this case the right chest and through the right arm. And then I'm going to come back and shift my bottom arm. Oh, no, actually no, I changed my mind. I'm going to flow back through the center, opening, and go all the way over to the other side for the same sequence, which is to open with the inhale, contract the bandhas, roll back, open. These movement patterns are so natural because the body and life in general tends to move. Living things move in circles and spirals and waves. Stay. Not so linear. Sometimes we get too linear, too left brain. We need to activate our right brain through wave-like motion. As another way to sort of feel who we are and how we feel at any given time. And then open back to center. Go ahead and extend the legs out. And rock your legs in and out, tapping your big toes. I don't know if you can see all the way down to my big toes. I don't think my camera goes that far. But I'm tapping the big toes as I rock my legs in. And that stimulates the kidney, liver, and spleen meridians, if you know Chinese medicine at all. The purifying, detoxing organs. And then cross your right ankle over your left ankle and hug your inner thighs to the midline so you create an internal rotation in the hip as opposed to external rotation. I'm just going to take a little lift of the hips, squeezing everything into the midline. Activating the erector spinae muscle, which is the muscle in the back body. And we'll do it a couple times. Inhale, exhale, lift. Squeezing everything to midline. And lower. This is something you can do in bed, just to wake up your back muscles. So our back muscles can get pretty tight when we're in the same position all night, and weak as a result too. Leg on top. Inhale, exhale, everything to midline. That inner zipper activating. And you might notice it's easier with one leg on top than the other. And yoga is all about balance, so bringing awareness to where you're uneven helps you then to bring yourself back to even. Squeezing the inner thighs to the midline. And releasing. And again, inner thighs to midline. And releasing. Open the legs and do a few more of these floppy movements that originate at the hip. This is actually a Qigong exercise, rocking the legs like this. I like to incorporate a little bit of Qigong here and there in my yoga practice and teaching. Now we'll open the arms out in the cactus shape again, and we're taking a slow, heavy dragging circle of the arm over the head. So I'm creating an arc shape, and I'm letting my arm take me part of the way over. We don't normally lead our actions with our arms, but in this case, I want you to pay attention to the arm initiating the movement. And it should just feel good. The neck is totally relaxed. The head is just rolling very heavily on the floor. And I'm just oozing like cooked spaghetti or seaweed. Again, that kind of fluid, oozy, integrating, somewhat sensual, nurturing. Water element is also very nurturing. On the next one, I'm going to let myself come all the way over on the side, just so I can rest my ear on the shoulder. This hand can be here for support. I'm bringing this leg up. Now, you could do this and grab the foot. You could hold the knee. Doesn't matter because we're working the bottom leg. And if the bottom leg is feeling weak, then you're going to bend the bottom knee. So you'll find for yourself, it's going to be straight, it's going to be bent, or somewhere in between. But you're lifting the bottom hip. This is not an action that we're used to doing. Activating that outer thigh. Activating the thigh to lift the hip. Now we need those strong outer hip muscles. We don't always have them because we don't use them that way.
But this is an exercise that really helps to stabilize the pelvis and legs and balance. So I'm just holding my hip up now. I'm breathing. I'm holding it up. I'm breathing. I'm holding it up. And it's harder than you might think. And then I'm rolling on my back. And I'm going to bring this heel to cross over the other leg for thread the needle. You can hold onto your shin, the back of your thigh, or you can loop a strap and hold a strap behind that leg. But find a place where you feel a nice stretch in that right hip and you're pushing this knee away as you pull this knee in. Both feet are flexed. That helps to protect the knees. Shoulder blades are on the mat and the breath is flowing as usual, smooth. These simple stretches can really help to keep our bodies healthy. Put the foot down and now we'll activate. So first we're stretching, we're taking a breath, filling the belly, filling the torso, and then peeling up now, but with one leg up. Try to keep the hips and chest level so you're not letting that hip drop for just 3 breaths. Even on the shoulders, engaging the interlocks with your exhale. And then up, 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 up. And roll down with the exhale. Give this leg a little stretch. You can stretch the bottom leg if you like. Just enjoy that. Maybe bring the head up. You could bend the knee, same thing. And let's open the leg out to the side as far as you can without letting this hip tip. Keep that grounded. And try to press the back of the thigh down by allowing for your natural lumbar curve. That's the little curve in the low back we all have and should have. Feels good to stretch the body. It needs to be stretched. Bring it up. Bring both knees in. Little rocking both sides. Plant the feet again. And we'll do that on the other side. So the oozing action that takes you all the way over. Finding the right angle of the bottom leg that is challenging for you to lift the hip. Just that little lift and lower and lift and lower. Notice it's not a big movement. And you might not be able to lift the hip, but you do engage the muscle as though you're lifting the hip in any case. Lift up and hold. So the hip, you can straighten the bottom leg more if it's easy for you. You do want to challenge a little bit so that you get stronger, but not to the point of straining. Cross your ankle as you roll to your back. Thread the needle using a strap if you need it. Shoulders down, feet flexed. Balanced across the pelvis and balanced across the shoulders and balanced with the inhale and exhale. And just observing with that detached effort, that detached awareness. You're just present. Place the foot down for the lift with your next exhale, coming up. Keeping the hips level, pressing the knee down, shoulders even, throat soft. Breath flowing smoothly, as always, up and down the spine with that bandha engaging on the exhales. And then we'll inhale up, roll down the spine, and take this stretch to where it feels good for you. Bent or straight leg. Remember, there's no competition with yourself or anyone else. It's you finding those feel-good edges. Bringing the forehead up. Maybe bending the knee as you take it out to the side or straight. But only as far as you can, keeping this other hip on the floor, lengthening the leg away. And thank yourself for giving yourself this time to pay attention to yourself, because I know most of us do a lot of paying attention to others, which is great. But your cup will run empty if you don't
take the time to focus in, and yoga is a wonderful way to do that. So we're just going to rock up to sitting. Coming up to the hands and the knees. Curl the toes under and sit back on the heels. This is a big stretch for the toes. So if you're feeling like, wow, I can't do that, it hurts my toes too much, put a block or something, a roller or something between your hips and your heels that will take some of the pressure off the feet, a pillow. If that's still too much, you could come all the way up. But let's interlace the hands behind the back, rolling the shoulders together and down. Take a deep breath. Without distorting, without popping the ribs, without letting the head go forward. Lift the arms as much as you can without struggling, straining. I like to switch my hands, so I tend to always cross the right index finger in front initially. I'm switching that up because that changes the stretch in the shoulder. And another breath. And then releasing and coming onto the hands and the knees. Come up to the fist and make a straight line from your knuckles to your shoulders. So you're not letting your wrist collapse at all. And punch down. You're not really taking a full cat tilt, which is rounding the whole spine. And you're not letting the head drop like you normally would in cat tilt. Look a little bit forward, but punch and activate the muscles across the upper back and into the side ribs and armpits. These muscles are very important to keep strong for a lot of the actions that we do in yoga. It's just a subtle, it's not like we want to build a lot of bulk or anything. We just want to activate them, activate the awareness of them. So that when we have our hands spreading wide in the Hasta Bandha, rooting down through the fingers and lifting up through the center of the palm, actually quite light on the wrist in here, we can continue the same feeling awareness. And we'll take now a little more exaggerated curve, so dropping the chest, softening the spine toward the floor, lifting the chest, dragging the shoulders down. Notice I'm not lifting too much with the neck. Head is coming up a little bit, but more lifting from the chest, and then rounding. The inhale is the opening, fluid movement, fluid breath. Exhale is the rounding. Inhale is the opening, and then I'm taking child pose, stretching back to child pose. Notice how you feel your breath a little differently when you're in the forward bend. Now I can direct my breath to filling the back lungs and moving the tension out of the back of the body. We're just going to roll up. Come to a cross-legged sitting position. That's really all that we're going to do today. I just wanted to give you a little bit of example of how you can activate some things in your body and your breath without ever having to stand up. So there's never an excuse not to do some yoga, in other words. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.